Hello! In this video I'm going to explain how to interpret the chocolate cooling curve. Once you've done a chocolate cooling curve with the usual tempermeter, the difficulty consists in understanding what's the use of this curve, what does it mean in my practical production. The key to understanding tempering is the fact that there exists a close and inseparable relationship between the amount of cocoa butter crystals in the pre-crystallization step, the quality of these crystals, and the cooling rate of the mass during solidification. Mass, time, temperature. I'll give you an example. A 2 mm layer of chocolate coating on a product that already has a temperature of 20 degrees will not require the same amount of crystals in the step of tempering as a mass that will fill a mold with 100 grams of chocolate, of course. I'm going to demonstrate the use of a tempermeter and how to sample to make a tempering curve or a pre-crystallization curve. So I take a small aluminium cup. You find this cup on internet, and these cups are used maybe for 3 or 4 different instruments that you find also on internet. So I put the caps into the sample holder. It's much better because if you take the cap into the hand, it will be warmed up by the heat of your hand. So if you sample from a vessel, be careful that the temperature is really homogeneous. So I fill up to the first ring. I put the cap into the well. The well is made of aluminium, and this is the cooling medium that's going to cool down the chocolate. I put the probe into the chocolate and I start my measurement. Now let's have a look at the most typical curve we may encounter. In this case, we have no inflection. It means the chocolate is not tempered. In all the other, chocolate is tempered. We notice a heat release. The slope of the curve is proportional to the amount of crystals in the step of tempering. Most tempermeters manufacturers offer an index calculated with the slope of the curve. It was thought to help better understand the relationship between the curve and the amount of crystals formed in the tempering step. Have a look at the index. Could be called RSI, TI, depends on the manufacturer. And you have the slope. The index is calculated out of the result of the slope, the calculation of the slope. The scale of this index is usually from 1 to 9. 1 means a few amount of crystals, 9 means a large amount of crystal. This is one of the reasons why this index is given by the manufacturer. And this example, if we have a look now That's the yellow one. The yellow curve shows that there are very few crystals. The green one means that there is a large amount of crystal. And this is a bit surprising because in this case we notice a large amount of heat release, and in this case we have a very small amount of heat release. We have to take into account the point where the heat release starts to release. In this case we are close to 22 degrees, and in this case the heat release starts at 27. So that's why this is surprising. In this case, I repeat, we have a lot of crystal and here very few. Remark about the plateau. Some users used to believe that we must reach a plateau for a good temper, and this was an information given by the manufacturer long time ago. It's not correct at all. Although it works in maybe 50 or more % of the situations. The slope of the curve should be correlated with all manufacturing conditions, and as we have said earlier, especially with the cooling rate. This is an exercise to temper a dark chocolate, to form a shell. These three curves that give the information that we have a small amount of crystal, in fact, they were ideal for the shell because we used to have very specific cooling solidification conditions. In this case, the plateau gave very bad results. Note also that we may have similar or identical slopes, like the green one and the violet, and a start of the exothermic at different temperature level. The index is no longer telling us anything about the amount of crystals. If we have a look to the index, we have an index of 1. Integrating the information on the starting temperature of the exothermic, we can conclude that for the purple curve there are even fewer crystals than for the green, as the start of the curving is much lower. What about the quality of the crystals? By quality, I mean the type of polymorphic I may have. You know that each type of polymorph has a definite melting range. The chocolate cooling curve doesn't give us any indication about the type of these crystals. To assess the quality of the crystals formed during the pre-crystallization stage, the tempering stage, we need sophisticated instrument like DSC, which is the differential scanning calorimetry. As we don't have usually this kind of sophisticated instrument to measure the type of crystals, we may have some idea using the information of the final temperature, the temperature at which you're going to use the mass to pour into the mold to cover your products. As this type of crystals have a definite melting range depending on their types, for example, if you use your mass at 32.5, maybe 33 degrees, you can be sure, without losing the temper of course, you can be sure that you have stable crystal like form 5 crystals. If you lose your temper when you warm up to 30 degrees, for example 30.5, and you lose your temper, it means that you have unstable crystalline form 4. Of course, the ideal situation would be to have a maximum of a stable form during the tempering stage. Tempering isn't really easy. It might be, but very often you can face some difficult situation. That's why CCMS is specialized on crystallization and all the issues linked to crystallization, from the raw material to the packaging at the very end of the line. I invite you to follow our 2 days or 3 days courses. We move to your factory, and the course is based on practice most of the time, and we bring the theory upon the practice. Don't hesitate to contact me and contact CCMS, and we will supply you with all the necessary information about this course. And very shortly on YouTube you're going to have also a workshop, so that if we can't move exactly at the place you're located for any reason, you can have in real time a course using YouTube and Skype at the same time. Thank you very much for having watched this video. It was a pleasure for me. Bye bye.